If you want your business to be relevant and in business in the next couple of years, then this episode is for you. This is one of the most powerful podcast episodes I've ever recorded because truly, I know that's a bold statement, but truly, I mean it. The old ways, or even current today, how we're marketing, those ways of marketing are not going to work very soon. And that's exactly what our guest today, Mark Schaefer, shares with us. It's for some might be kind of eye-opening. The fact is that marketing and technology is changing so incredibly fast. And if we're not evolving and we're not adapting, then we will get left behind, and we'll get left behind quickly. But there is hope. There is a way for retailers to still stand out, connect, grow, and thrive. And that's exactly, if you follow the advice of Mark today, that's exactly what you're going to do. So I'm so excited for my guest. Mark is also going to be a keynote speaker at Evolve, my in-person marketing conference. We'll talk about a little sneak peek of his session, and I cannot wait for this session. I think it could be life and business changing for attendees. Before we dive into today's episode, here's a little bit more about my guest. Mark Schaefer is a globally recognized author, speaker, futurist, and business consultant. He is a prolific writer and speaker whose work sits at the intersection of marketing, technology, and humanity. He has advanced degrees in marketing and organizational development, holds 7 patents, and is a faculty member of the Graduate Studies program at Rutgers University. He is the best-selling author of 10 popular books, including the very first book on influencer marketing. His blog, Grow, and the podcast, The Marketing Companion, are ranked among the top-rated publications in the marketing field. His clients range from successful startups to global brands such as Adidas, Johnson & Johnson, Dell, the U.S. Air Force, and the U.K. government. And he has appeared on media channels such as CNN, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Times, and CBS. I am so excited for you to listen in to this conversation. And if you have any friends who also are store owners or small business owners, this is a really important episode for them to listen to. So go ahead and share that with them, and let's dive in. Welcome to Rooted in Retail, the show that's dedicated to helping independent retailers thrive in today's ever-evolving retail landscape. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, and I'm thrilled to have you join me weekly as we explore topics that are vital to the success of your store. From marketing to mindset, money to merchandising, sales to leadership, we'll cover it all. Each episode features interviews with industry experts and accomplished retailers who share their real-life insights and actionable advice. Get ready for a great conversation on how to build your dream business with Rooted in Retail. Mark, welcome to the show. I am thrilled that you're here.
Crystal, I am thrilled to be here.
Yeah. So I heard you speak many years ago at the Social Media Examiner, Social Media Marketing World, and you were one of my favorite presenters. You are so real. What you were saying was so helpful to the audience. They were connecting. It was engaging. You're funny. And I feel like you have a heart to help. And that's really what we model after at Crystal Media. I'm really happy to help our retailers. So I'm really grateful for your time today. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. And I look forward to coming out and seeing you in Denver soon.
Yes, we're excited to have you as a keynote, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I want to just jump right in and talk about your new book that you just released, Belonging to the Brand. It's your 10th book. I'm in the middle of listening to it. I'm more of an audiobook person than reading it. But I have to say, I am so incredibly excited that it's about community because our audience is independent retailers, and most of them have brick and mortar storefronts. So they're actually physically a part of the community.
Sure.
Obviously, there's a lot of ways to create community, but what made you write a book about community and connecting it to marketing?
Well, this was really an idea, Crystal, that the seed was planted when I wrote, there's a book called Marketing Rebellion. This is a very popular book I wrote in 2019. And one of the chapters in that book was about belonging and community. And I predicted this was going to be a big part of marketing in the future because it's something that never changes with people. And in this book, I was suggesting, look, marketers, put down your algorithms for a minute, put down your automation for a minute, and just get reacquainted with what customers really want and need. Then, boom, 1 year later, pandemic hits. And Crystal, people started telling me, Mark, these ideas you had in the book, they're all coming true. They're coming true now. This isn't like a future thing. And I recognized that one chapter I had in the book, that was the most important chapter in the book. That really was going to be the future of marketing. It was happening faster than I expected. And I'm not a bragging person, but I will have one little mic drop moment. And that is when I finished writing the book a few months ago, the day I wrote the last words of the book, McKinsey came out with a major research study that said community is the future of marketing. And boom, I had already written this book. So I think I got it right. And I think it's just the right time. Number one, a lot of, as your customers unquestionably know, a lot of the ways we used to market and advertise just don't work anymore. People aren't seeing those ads. They're not believing those ads. There is just so much attention, demand for our time, so many distractions for our attention. It's so hard to cut through that clutter. And we're also in a world where we're more disconnected, more isolated, and in many cases, especially with young people today, more lonely than ever. So we need to belong. We long to belong. And so this is a kind of marketing that not only works, but it actually heals people. And I think that's, it's like you said, at the beginning, you said, Mark, I think you kind of have a heart for helping people. I do. and so what if we could create the most belonging store? What if we could create the most belonging feeling in how we connect with people? Wouldn't that be an amazing legacy? Wouldn't that be something to be really proud of in our business? And I think it would be marketing that works too.
Mm-hmm. I can't agree with you more. I think so often we are so concerned about getting people to our events and getting people to buy our products. And it's all about the promotional and buy.
Mm-hmm.
And we totally just get so caught up in the day to day, and we forget about the heart of the business, the connecting with our customers and creating really meaningful connections.
Mm-hmm.
And, one thing that I talk about to do that is really being vulnerable and telling stories, and being there for your customers is not just about the buy. So I'm so excited. I hope all of our retailers buy this book.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, right. That's right. You say community can become your company. It's so much more than logos and taglines. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, there are a couple very powerful examples in the book. Some of them are small companies where they created a community, and the community actually became bigger than the company. And I think there's one rather significant retail example that everybody can relate to, and that's Sephora. So we all know Sephora, right? I mean, they're based, I believe they're out of Paris, and they have brick and mortar stores in just probably every significant city in the world. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. We have a Sephora. And yet 80% of their revenue comes from their online community. It's kind of mind-blowing. I mean, you wouldn't even think about it. Sephora's kind of a walk-in mall kind of store, but 80% of their revenue, they have 6 million customers online. And one of the themes that I talk about in Marketing Rebellion is that because people block out advertising and marketing messaging, increasingly our customer is the marketer. That's why we buy things, because our friends are talking about that and recommending that. Well, guess what's happening in this Sephora community? everybody's trying these things and they're talking about these things. They're saying, try this and look how this worked. And they're just selling things to each other. And it's really quite remarkable. I estimate Sephora's probably spending about $2 billion on their community. And yet they don't measure the success of the community through retail sales. It's through engagement, because they say if we're creating a place that people want to gather and share ideas, then that's a leading indicator to sales.
Wow. That is such a great example. And that is something that I heard you say of having your customers be advocates for you instead of it's not just a customer, it's a community advocate. And if we start thinking of our customers in that way, that they're not customers, I think that it allows us to kind of flip the script on marketing. And I think specifically with social media, since I'm so rooted in social, on creating that content and how we're really showing up and how we're connecting with those customers and creating that community for those conversations. So good.
One of the things I'm going to be talking about when I see you at your event is that there is this research that shows, and this was completed in 2019 before the pandemic. So I think the number is even higher now, but about 2/3 of our marketing is occurring without us. 2/3 of our marketing is occurring by what people are saying to each other, what they're sharing on social media, reviews, testimonies, even these people we call influencers who are really just our friends, people that we trust, And so, I mean, this idea of the customer is the marketer. How do we help the customer do their job? That's really the marketing mindset we need to have today.
Yes. Perfect example of this. I was getting my hair cut yesterday. I chopped off a lot of my hair.
It looks great, by the way.
Thank you so much. And I am sitting there with Katie and she's like, oh, by the way, I went into Pilar this weekend. Oh, I love that shop because last time I was in, I'm like, you got to go to Pilar. It's my favorite boutique. I buy whatever I need for outfits. I go there and then I see her again. And then there she is shopping. So we are the marketers.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So speaking obviously of marketing, that's what we're talking so much about. I also heard you say that we will not recognize marketing in 2 years. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh my goodness. So much is changing, So like, what was it? Maybe 2 months ago? I think it's either 2 months ago or 2 years ago. The time's gone so fast, I can't tell. We had this little thing enter our world called ChatGPT, right? For starters. And Crystal, I was an early adopter trying this thing out. And I wrote something on my blog. I wrote words I have never said or written before. Marketing has changed forever right now. Even when the internet started, you kind of needed a few years to figure out where's this thing going, right? Certainly it's the same way with Web3 or the metaverse. But unleashing artificial intelligence in a user experience that's as easy as Google changes the world. And we're seeing it happen. I mean, 2 million people signed up for ChatGPT in the first 2 weeks. It was the fastest adoption of any technology in the history of the human race. And it's just beginning. It's just beginning. And it's going to seep into our lives, our businesses, our customers' lives in very interesting ways. It's going to help marketing. It's going to hurt marketing. It's going to challenge marketing. One of the things I talk about in my book on just another way that marketing is changing a lot is the new ways that people are meeting and gathering. So like a lot of our businesses might depend on a social listening platform. Okay, what are our customers saying about us on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or something like that? Well, guess what? Young people today, they're not on Facebook. They're not on Twitter. They're not on LinkedIn. And a lot of the places where they're showing up, we can't see them. We can't discover them. We can't hear them. They're invisible. They're blockading themselves into little communities, into little digital campfires. So, I mean, there's so many challenges going on. So It's just the way we think of, if you're doing marketing like you were 5 years ago, it just can't be working the same. We've got to really embrace a new view and a new mindset about how to connect to customers in a meaningful way. And that's one of the reasons why I think my new book, Belonging to the Brand, is so important, because the community isn't new, but the way I present it in this book is almost entirely new. It's the biggest overlooked opportunity in marketing, maybe in the history of overlooked opportunities, because people just aren't thinking about this as a way to build the brand.
Right. I mean, well, and that's where it's insane to think about how, like you were saying, how fast this is happening, because before we had a lot of time to kind of process and get to know it and learn it. And the fact that you're saying what you did 5 years ago, that's not that long ago. When we really look, like, that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
So your book truly cannot come at a better time to really help people set themselves up for success and stay in front of their customers. Because you're right. I think of the app Be Real, where you're just like in the moment right now, and you just take a picture of where you are, and it's the front and back camera, and then you just share that with your friends, right? Like, it's not a public news feed. Brands can't get into that. It's just to one, right? So how are we really still staying in front of our customers and giving them what they need? Something you address in your book is how lonely we are, and the stats about being lonely. I mean, it's heartbreaking what is happening.
It is.
And so I think that we want to belong, like you said. And I think brands, and especially our small businesses and our retailers who are part of the community, have such an opportunity to provide that space and a safe space for their audience. And so now is such a perfect time to do it. And it really is a perfect time for your book. It does all go back to community. Mark, so switching gears just a little bit, because I think of community and I think of experiences also, because I think that that's a way that brands they create an experience which allows the connection.
Yes.
And as I was preparing for this, I was scrolling around your website and I saw that you have an incredible experience of learning, like, a marketing boot camp in a castle in Dublin, Ireland.
I do. We're going to do falconry. We're going to drink mead. By the end of the event, I'll probably end up in armor. We're going full medieval.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. I love it so much. But that's a perfect example of an experience. Like, you are creating connection and community through this amazing marketing experience. There's a retailer that I know, who, her name is Shelly, and she has a knitting store, and she created this like 2-day knitting workshop. It was at a Ritz-Carlton. It was super luxurious. You got all these amazing supplies. You learned from experts in the industry. You got to meet them, book signing. You were fed all the things, right? Tickets were $10,000 to go to this for a knit store, right? And so people were like, you're crazy. Nobody's going to buy this. But she just committed to making an amazing experience. Only 10 people can go. She sold out. One woman bought a ticket for herself and her daughter, so $20,000. But they wanted the community, they wanted the connection, they wanted the experience. So can you talk a little bit too about how you feel about that?
It's interesting that you say this. I used to have a big event. Oh gosh, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It started out, the first year I ever tried to have it, I had like 450 people there. I cut it off because I thought, what is happening here? And then by the third year, there was over 700 people, and I was miserable because it was a blur. I wasn't connecting with people. I wasn't really forming any relationships. And so I stopped. It was just so stressful, and it was unfulfilling. And I thought, this was the turning point. At the end of the event, we had like this nice party. And then after the party, people were still wired and they were still going, and they're going out to bars. And I just went home and crashed. I couldn't even hang with my friends. I was just so exhausted and spent. And I thought, this is not what I really want. So the event you talked about, I have one in Knoxville at a lodge in the woods in April. And then I have one in a castle in Dublin in September. And it's limited to 30 people. And, it's not $10,000, but it's like $4,000, but it's all inclusive. And it's, beautiful food, and, you're in the forest and you're surrounded by gardens and ponds, and we're going to have wonderful entertainment. And it's a retreat, but it's 30 people, and you walk away with 29 new friends who are going to support you forever. So it really is, it's not like a meeting. It's not a conference. It's a bond. You walk away with 29 new people who are going to kind of be with you, forever. And so that to me is, it's a great experience that people will never forget.
Yeah. And I want to encourage anybody that's listening to this to think about how you could do something for your business like that. I mean, you are creating the bond. It doesn't have to be this big, massive event. It can really be something that is just super special for a few people that often I feel like what ends up happening in those scenarios too, it's life changing. I mean, you can't even really put a price tag on it or, the marketing copy. How do you even explain like a life changing event? But really think about how you can create something special like that. So we have our Evolve conference that's coming up, and we cap it at 200. I hear you say like 700, and there's a side of me that's like, that would be so amazing. And then I hear the other side of like,
it can be, it depends on what you want to do. But
totally.
For me, since the difference was, what I was hearing is that a lot of people are coming to this event for me because they knew me, and no one could see me.
Right.
How do you see 700 people? So I just felt like I was disappointing everybody.
I totally get that. I mean, I've been to events where I go for that person, and really the only way they can do it is you've got the step and repeat, where you step up, you take your picture, shake the hand, see you later. And it's just not at all meaningful. And I know that's so hard on the people that put on these events, but you're right. Whatever you're trying to experience, we intentionally kept it to 200. It is our first one, and we wanted it to be kind of an intimate event and have those chances to ask your questions and meet more people. And so your topic is the most human company wins. Can you share a little teaser about what you're going to be talking about at Evolve?
Well, actually, I am going to be bringing a whole new speech to Evolve. I tested it out for the first time this morning, as a matter of fact. And it integrates a lot of ideas from my last few books. I think we're in a world where we're just overwhelmed with messages, and we're bombarded with ideas, and we don't know what to do. We don't know what to trust. We don't know what to listen to. And I think especially now, as we're getting into this world of artificial intelligence, people are going to turn to the people who they know, the people that they trust. And this idea of the personal brand, the idea of our customers are our marketers because that's who they trust. I think this idea of community, we might be living in a high-tech world, but there, as marketers, we still have plenty of opportunities for high touch. And maybe we're just not thinking that way. So what I'm going to be talking about is, and I believe this idea a lot, the most human company wins. And when I say company, it could be the most human nonprofit, the most human symphony, the most human, retail shop or whatever. Those are the ones that are going to stand out. If you remember in the pandemic, what did we hear at first? The companies, all the big companies, they didn't know what to say, right? The whole world's closing in on them with this pandemic. Everybody's terrified. And here's what they said. We are with you in these unprecedented times, right? They could not get off the script. They looked silly. They looked foolish. And the companies that did well and the companies that we'll remember are the ones that rolled up their sleeves and said, we are part of this community. We're going to get through this together and we are going to help. We're going to get down in the trenches. We're not going to let you fail and we're going to be there for you. And that's why my book came out 1 year before the pandemic. The Most Human Company wins. But that's what was showing up, was the companies that could come show up as the most human companies and get rid of the stupid advertising scripts. Those are the ones that we're going to succeed. And it's still going to be that way in the future.
Oh, hands down. I know. How many times did you just pull your hair out when they said unprecedented? We heard that way too many times. And the brands, a perfect example of what you're talking about, because we work with these small retailers. We had a retailer who is an insider member of ours. She has a gift shop, and she was having such a hard time finding help during the pandemic. This was like 4 to 5 months after the shutdowns. And businesses are still having such a hard time finding help, but it was especially hard. A lot of people either didn't want to work, were scared to work. There were so many reasons. And she just took out her phone and went onto Facebook and did a live, and with tears saying, you guys, we really need some volunteers. If anybody can help support us, we're really just trying to set up. Mark, 100 people showed up for this retailer.
Wow.
Like, her community
what a story.
Up. I know. And it's like, how you're not, that is incredibly special. This is why I love working with retailers, because they are their brand. Yeah. It is very human. But the thing is, and this will be good for you to know going into your talk at Evolve, is that there's so much fear of putting ourselves out there, of visibility, of just really being seen. And what if I look stupid, or what if I mess up, or all those things. And so one thing I try to do is build that confidence and have them feel like they can, because when they do, they're going to see 100 people show up for their store to volunteer. Like, they're going to see those results. So
yeah. Well, it's a good challenge, but you're right. It is necessary and it works. And one of the things I've been screaming from the rooftops for at least the last 7 years is that the personal brand is everything. The personal brand is all we're going to have left. And in a world where everybody's going to be able to be creating all this information with artificial intelligence, I've got a new thing I'm putting on my blog, 100% human content. So people know.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm being transparent. It's me. It's really me. And you can trust me. And, I'm here for you. And that's why I actually think small businesses and small retailers this is their time. This is absolutely, we are in a world right now where all the big companies and all the big brands that were built on big media buys and big, social media campaigns and huge advertising, relationship with advertising agencies. How are they going to win? I just don't know how they're going to win, because people want to see business owners showing up in the community, being part of the community. That's who they know. That's who they trust. And that's who they're going to support.
Yeah, it really is a great time to be a small business. And I feel like there's a lot more people who are doing trainings, and there's webinars and challenges about personal branding. You really were one of the OGs that talked about personal branding years ago and the importance of it. And I feel like the rest of the world's kind of catching up to that a little bit more. But now, like, more than ever, it's so incredibly.
Yeah, most of them are using my book in their training program.
Oh, I hope they're giving you credit.
Yeah. There was actually somebody on LinkedIn the other day. They were saying, "Oh, well, we teach about personal branding." I said, "Oh, that's so interesting." I said, "What do you do?" Because he said, "Oh, well, we use your book."
Oh my
Which
goodness.
is fine. It's a big world. I don't care. It's a big world.
Totally. Well, what is it like? I always butcher this, but copying is a form of flattery or something.
Yeah, it's a great form of. Honestly, I don't. I don't have a scarcity mentality.
Right.
It's a big world, and there's enough for everybody. And look, I help people. I truly do believe that if you're not working on your personal brand, you're going to be falling behind in this world.
Totally.
When I teach a college class, when I teach to students, I beg them to work on their personal brand. It's the only sustainable competitive sustainable competitive advantage we have as individuals that we can take with us throughout our careers, no matter what happens. And not enough people take it seriously.
I so agree. And that's pretty powerful stuff. It's so meaningful. Hey, real quick, I want to invite you to my in-person marketing conference called Evolve, happening April 26th and 27th in Denver, Colorado at the stunning Gaylord Rockies. We are going to talk about all things retail and marketing and more. You're going to walk away feeling confident in yourself, in your marketing plan that feels comfortable and authentic to you. You're going to have a very good understanding of the future of social media and marketing, because it's going to look very different than it does today, and how you can adapt and evolve to stay relevant and thrive. Many businesses won't do that, and you can if you come to Evolve. We're going to have other topics as it relates to social media and marketing, as well as inventory management, money, mindset, leadership. This is a packed agenda, plus time for networking, meeting new retailer friends, and getting your questions answered from me and my team and our speakers. I'd love to see you in the room. So go to crystalmediaco.com/evolve to get your ticket. Seating is limited, so hurry and grab your ticket before we sell out. I hope to see you there. Mark, we're going to move into our resilient round, where we've got some questions
Sounds
for
very
quick.
intimidating.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to do great. I know it.
I don't know. I hate speed rounds of any kind. I'm a very slow thinker.
No. Okay. Well, you know what? You could take your time. You could totally do whatever you're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
But these are pretty easy questions, but they could, they could go into
now
some
you're going to make
here.
it even harder. Well, Mark, these are such easy questions. You're sitting there with a blank look on your face. All right.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Right. I think you could do this one. This is going to be hard for you. I think. Best business book.
Yeah. One of the greatest opportunities of my whole life was I got to study under a guy named Peter Drucker for 3 years. And if you've ever taken classes in business, you've probably heard of Peter Drucker. He has a book. It's right back here. It never leaves my desk. And he wrote this book, I think it was 1984, called Innovation and Entrepreneurship. He basically predicted the gig economy. It's basically a framework of how to put innovation into every business. It should be required reading. I read it about every other year. I read it again because it's such an important book. And so he's a great thinker and a great writer, and that's one of my favorite books.
Incredible. I can't wait to read that. How do you keep up with the ever-changing social media landscape?
I consume a lot of newsletter content, and by newsletter content, I'm meaning like people who are watching out for trends. Like I read a newsletter about Gen Z. It's written by Gen Z about Gen Z trends because they're changing everything. They're creating fashion, they're creating taste, they're creating culture and music, and in many new interesting ways. They're using social media in new ways. They're hiding out in new places. So I read newsletters sort of about like business trends, future trends, Gen Z, consumer behavior kind of thing. So I read a lot of newsletters.
Awesome. You said something in your book that Gen Z spends 7.5 hours on their phone. And that was mind blowing. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. 7.5 hours. Yeah. And I think the average for everybody else is like 2.5 hours or something like that,
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're literally being wired a different way and reacting to the world in a different way. And I mean, it's not going to go back. It's just going to move forward. And so we're going to have to adapt to the way they're wired.
Absolutely.
And by the way, It's like whenever we talk about Gen Z, we think about, oh, that's this little generation. Hey, we just had a Gen Z elected to Congress.
Yep.
They're here. They're buying stuff.
Yep.
In the next 5 years, they're going to be our business leaders.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're here. They're now. It's happening, and they're taking over.
Totally. The time is now. It's pretty crazy. Because marketing is ever changing, how do you recharge your batteries?
I don't.
Oh.
No, I honestly, I love nature. I love nature, and we are really fortunate that we live in a beautiful part of the country. I live in Tennessee, and I live in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. After I see you, I'm going to get in a car and go visit some national parks out west. I'm going to get recharged. I'm going to visit some friends in Denver. I'm going to go see some of the national parks I haven't seen. But I get re-energized with nature. If I'm really feeling stressed, I just got to, go out on the lake or go on a hike or just sit by a pond for a while. And that's how I get energized.
I can so relate to that. And hopefully our weather is great when you're here because Denver has very bipolar weather, but I'm hoping you can get some hikes in. If you want any trail recommendations in Rocky Mountain National Park, I will send you some. So to help retailers be stronger, rooted in success, what's a social media foundational best practice?
It's something that we sort of already hinted at, Crystal, is this idea of the most human company wins. And there's a lot behind that, but I think it really gets down to this. If you're doing types of marketing that people hate, stop it. And you know what it is because you hate it too. I kind of got in the face of a guy on LinkedIn the other day. He was like pitching me all this stuff. And here's what it was, Crystal. No, I've written 10 books. It's not that hard if you're really interested in me to see that I've written books. This guy, he pitches me and he says, well, you're such an interesting person. Have you ever thought of writing a book? I'm here to help you write a book. And I just said, this is why are you writing this to me? This is so unhelpful. All you had to do was look at my LinkedIn profile and you would know I'm not your guy. And he got all defensive. And I said, look, you can do better. You just got to, you got to stop doing things that people hate. If someone came to you with an irrelevant pitch that interrupted your day because you got a message from someone, you got to see what it is. And then you're doing something that people hate and you know it. Now, double down on what people love. Double down on showing your face and your heart and your passion and your compassion. You look at every customer interaction. If you have a newsletter, if you have customer complaints, if you have special events, when you greet them in the shop, how do you show your smile and your heart and your face and tell your story? And how do you show up in the most human possible way? Look at your website. Are you using stock photos of people or, pictures of you and your customers? One of my favorite brands is Glossier. Every picture on their website is a customer that they find on social media. Their whole marketing department is all they do is watch social media for what people are saying about them and then acknowledging them and thanking them and rewarding them and saying, hey, that's really cool. Can we put that on our website? Can we put you on our website? Would you like to wear that, lip gloss or whatever? And we'll put it on our website. So, I love that. I just love that. That's what marketing should be.
Yes, Mark. We only have one more question. You're killing it with these questions. See how great you are at the resilience round.
Oh, dude, I thought it was going to be like, so you're letting me think and talk. So
the final question is, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
I think it's awesome. I think it's incredible. I think it's going to have to be hybrid. I think there'll have to be some sort of online component to brick and mortar stores. Um, I think there's a huge opportunity for community. And, I know there's a lot of competition from all these big retail giants, but they're not human. And I really believe that the most human company will win and the most human retail shop will win. And the personal brand is everything. And the person who owns that store, they know their customers and they're going to show up. And, it's just like, who do you love at Amazon? Who do you love at Walmart? Who do you love? So, I mean, you're going to do business with the people that you love, that you know. So I think this is a time, it really is. This is a time that small and medium-sized businesses are absolutely poised to win.
I completely agree. Love it. Mark, thank you so much. I am so excited for your talk at Evolve. It's going to be epic, and everybody in the room is going to be so moved by what you say. I know it because I've experienced it. So thank you. How would you like people to best connect with you?
Well, I can't wait to meet some new friends in Denver. That's going to be awesome. And so you probably can't remember my name or how to spell my name, but if you can remember Businesses Grow, that's my website, businessesgrow.com. And you can find my blog, my podcast, my books, my social connections. I follow everybody back on LinkedIn, so it's easy to stay connected with me. And Businesses Grow. I'd love to hear from my new friends in Denver.
Awesome. Mark, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate this. And everyone listening, remember that I am rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. Don't forget to join the Rise and Shine newsletter, which is social media news you need to know, sent via email every Monday morning. Go to crystalmediaco.com/rise to join. And don't miss the newest episode of Rooted in Retail, which drops every Sunday morning.